This letter, you see this letter.
First of all, what did I say earlier? You cannot be dumb and be in this business.
Right.
Do you think for 1 minute that I am going to try and get away with something like that?
You've heard the story.
Oh, yeah, that and other things I was supposed to have said, and jokes and things that I was about going to the ball game with my wife and about she's a good cook and all those things. And that followed me from Detroit to Los Angeles and to New York. Don't forget, in 1960, even back then, Pookie could not do the First Family album by Von Meter because that was considered sacrilegious to make fun of the president. And everybody felt that way, and Jack Kennedy was in the White House going, Anyway, but, I wasn't about to go on and try and get away with something. I was accused of the thing with the fire truck. No. But you know how those things happen? I figured it out. Because I said I would give anybody $10,000 if they could prove it. And everybody would always say, well, my cousin heard it, or my brother heard it, or my sister. They never did. But it becomes a thing after all the years.
Why you?
Well, because my show was so big at the time. It wasn't just a regular show.
And you were on the edge of the envelope, too. I mean, you were pushing the edge because you were state of the art, and you were pushing the edge of the envelope.
And the fact is, it was like 70% written and 30% ad lib. Yeah. I mean, there were times coming in there where you would say something, but nobody ever tried to get away with anything. But what happened? I tried to figure it out, and I did. When my kids were growing up in Detroit, and they were like 7 or 8, and around the dinner table, we'd be sitting talking, they would tell a joke that they had heard in school. And it was a grade school toilet joke. But I was very fair-minded, being in the business. I'd say, where did you hear that? And they'd say, well, Eddie Johnson told me, or Billy Cravens. I'd say, don't tell that joke to anybody. That's terrible. Okay, because I'm in the business and I'm not as narrow-minded, there were other kids at other homes when they would tell a joke like that, and the mother and father said, where did you hear that? Scaring to get, and the kid would say, on the Soupy Sales show, and they go, and they would tell somebody, they call and say, do you hear what he said today on the show? And he said, do you know what and this got to be like a...
You mean from something as small as that, an old wives' tale?
Oh, yes, that's what happens, and that just follows you, and everybody embellishes, and that's it. It's like people that come up to me and say, hey, I sent you $5, I sent you $20, my mother wants her $8, but, if I would have gotten all the money that everybody has said all over the country, I would not be sitting here with you tonight. I'd be hiring you because I'd own this station.
You'd keep me. That's good.
I'd keep you, yeah.
Chris, you're on WMCA.
Yeah, hi, Alan. How are you?
How are you?
Okay, Soupy.
Yes.
How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Okay, I got one question for you.
Okay, I'll give you one answer.
What happened between you and Howard Stern?
What happened between him and Howard Stern?
Nothing happened between Howard Stern and myself.
Well,
why would you think something happened?
Well, I mean, they really went at it on the air when he was on NBC.
Well, Howard goes at it with everybody.
Yeah, but I mean, it was uncharacteristic of you to turn on him the way you did.
Oh, I don't want to discuss this because this is a Howard Stern fan here.
I get him all the time.
Yes. Let me say this, and I'm not going to talk about it anymore because I'm not going to sit here and talk about Howard Stern, other than the fact that on the highway of comedy, Howard's an Edsel.
Thank you. Tony, you're on WMCA.
It's so nice to have you on the program. Let me get it out of the way. Sorry. Serious question.
This is serious form of flattery.
Because I'm the other guy that does Soupy, and there was the first guy. You got him through first.
No, but the other guy did on the other station. He's been with me longer.
Oh, okay.
But you do a good Soupy, too. Soupy probably doesn't think so, but it's a good Soupy. Go ahead.
Yeah, we do. Thank you very much. Anyway, Soupy, serious question. Your sons, Hunt and Tony, doing wonderful with David Bowie.
Yes, I'm very happy about that. It's really... And I really got upset with that idiot who reviewed the album in People magazine.
Oh, yeah.
Because let me tell you, what happened was what he said was this. He said, first of all, the group, has Tony and Hunt Sales in the 10 machine. And he says, and playing with David Bowie, which is comparable. And he said, Soupy Sales, who became famous when we get hitting pies in the 50s and 60s and everything like that. And then he said, having Hunt and Tony Sales with David Bowie is comparable to having Dino, Desi, and Billy accompanying Jimi Hendrix. But let me tell you something. I know Dino, Desi, and Billy, and they were sweet kids because they used to hang around the house. They were friends with my kids. But that was a bubblegum time, and they had a couple of hit records. But Tony and Hunt have paid their dues, man. They were with Iggy Pop. They were with Todd Rundgren. They were with Paris, Ray Manzarek. They're great musicians, and they can play with anybody.
Thank you very much. I understand that when one of your kids was going, I forget which one, He was counted absent for 22 days.
Well, they both were. Yeah, because of the name change.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny.
They kept calling, they thought their name was Sales.
Yes, they never knew, because when they grew up, my name was Sales. But yet, when you register, their name was Sutman. See, and they wouldn't answer. So one day they called me and said, your kids have been absent school 22 days. I said, now, when I was going to school, you go fishing or you go swimming or you go play pool and you don't show up. You're 14 or 15, that's it. But, I said, where did kids 7 and 8 go? And what happened? They didn't answer. They would answer. They didn't know the name. What the hell they knew what the name was.
Frank, you're on with Soupy Sales. Hello.
Hello, Soupy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier in the program that you still have some shows, the original shows that aired in New York.
Yes.
Will they eventually be on videotape?
I hope so, yeah.
That would be great.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that, because because I get asked about that all the time. And so, yeah, we're working on that right now.
Who was the man who was the voice for White Fang and Blackfoot?
Well, the first guy that did it was Clyde Adler from Detroit, and the second guy to do it was Frank Sinatra, who lives here in New York, who had been originally from Detroit.
Thank you. Ed, you're on with Soupy Sales on WMCA. Hello.
Yeah, hello, Soupy.
Yes.
How you doing, Soupy?
Fine, how you doing, Ed?
Good. I was wondering, are you ever planning on doing another radio spot in the New York or the tri-state area here?
Well, you mean to do another show?
Yeah.
Yeah, if somebody asked me, if they asked me, I certainly would consider it. Because I like radio. I think it's really the most creative now of all the mediums. It's really something. Of course, I started in radio.
Uh-huh.
I fixed 2 sets before I came here tonight.
Well, listen, Soupy, are there any videotapes or books or anything that you have out? Because I was really an avid fan of yours.
Thank you. I have a joke book out called Did You Hear the One About? It might be tough to get because it's been out a year or two now.
It's going to be at the bottom line a week from tomorrow night as well.
Pardon me?
He'll be at the bottom line a week from tomorrow night.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Dom, you're on WMCA.
Hi, good evening. Hi, Soupy.
Hi.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Yes, I'd like to know, on your 1966 show, when you asked the kids to send money and everything,
Yeah.
I'd like to know, how much money, approximately, did you raise? How much did you get from your viewers, in other words?
I would say about $2.80, and the rest in green pieces of paper and Monopoly money and play money. Because kids were very hip in those days.
All right, thank you. We'll continue with Soupy Sales. I'm Alan Colmes, and Soupy Sales is our guest, 212-570-WMCA. Let's go back to our calls, and Brian, hello.
Hello, Alan.
Yeah.
How you doing?
How you doing?
Listen, Soupy.
Yes.
Hi, man. I love you so much.
Thank you. Don't quit.
Listen, I'm only 27. I was a little young for your TV show. I do remember a little bit of it. Not much.
Yeah.
Because I was very young. But I want to tell you that both my brother and I, my brother's 2 years older, we grew up listening to your album, Pie in the Sky.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I pulled that out of a trunk the other day. I hadn't seen
And it was on an elephant.
I hadn't seen that thing in 20 years.
Yeah.
And I played that, and it brought back so many memories. My grandmother bought that for us, and she used to play it every time we'd go.
Well, that album's worth $100.
Are you serious?
No, it's a collector's item. All those albums are.
Oh, my God.
And the single 45 copy of The Mouse is worth $35. Is
that right?
Yeah.
Do you have one?
I do have one, but you know what? I don't have, you go through and you say, well, I'll get some albums here, and it's something that you never do, and all of a sudden you turn around and you don't have any. It's one of those things.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Soupy, I played that again, and all of a sudden I was 7 years old again.
Hey, thank you. That's a very nice compliment.
When I have kids, I'm going to play that album for them. Make sure they get hooked on it. Are you going to make any more?
Well, if I get another show, maybe I will.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Rick, you're on WMCA. Hello.
Hi, Alan. Great show.
Thank you.
Mr. Sales.
Yes.
I heard after you left NBC, you bought a gun, and now no one knows who Ray Dariano is. So what's the story, Soup?
You want to talk about that?
No, you're talking about something that happened a couple of years ago. I don't want to talk about, really. That's,
Oh, come on, talk.
No, I don't want to talk about it.
Where is he?
I have no idea.
All right,
I have
Matt,
no idea.
you're on WMCA. Hello. Do we have a Dave? You're on WMCA. Do we have phones that are working? No? I think our phones are down. It used to happen 3 or 4 times a night.
Yeah.
Now it's,
Oh, really?
Now it's just once in a great while. I think our phones are down.
All right, so we just call.
So we will try to fix it. It's the Marconi signature model control board that we have in the other room.
Uh-huh.
next week they're donating this to Smithsonian, so...
Yeah.
We're ready to go? Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's go to Dave. Are you there? No, he's not. All right, well, you and I will just speak until until something better happens with our telephone lines. You still doing a lot of television. You do a lot of guesting on shows.
Yeah, I just came back. I did a pilot on the West Coast of a show, strangely enough, called From Soup to Nuts.
Yeah.
And I worked with the guy who played the general on Hogan's Heroes, Leon. I can't remember his last name. He's like 82 years old, and he wears a helmet, and we play brothers.
I understand that you wrote an autobiography a few years ago. I don't know if it ever got published, but I understand you had one that you had written. Is that true?
No.
It's not true?
No.
Well, let me look in my notes here.
What does your note say?
Peter and the Werewolf.
Oh, no, that's not an autobiography. That was a book I wrote and a screenplay I wrote.
Oh, I thought it was an autobiography.
Hey,
it
listen,
said so, and the Washington Post said that.
Yeah. Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Listen, talk about Ray Dariano. He's a great writer. He and I wrote a screenplay that we sold to Warner Brothers.
Is that right?
And it was going to be produced, and they changed ownerships, like not ownerships, but, the management.
Right.
And the people who had hired us to write it were let go. And so those things happen. Everybody buys up everybody else.
This property exists.
Yeah, but Warner Brothers owns it. But it's a great.
You do a lot of writing of stuff apart from the limelight that you hope to sell or that you look to sell.
Yeah, right. Different stories and things like that. I write material. And...
Does it help that the name Soupy Sales is attached to it?
Well, I don't send it out to be, to submit it to be published. I mean, if I write something like I wrote the book and I submitted, or I, submitted, I'm working on another joke book now, and.
But I mean, in terms of screenplays and things like that.
No, I'm not. I've written a couple, but I won't do it now unless it's like we were hired to do this, and and so that you sit there and do it. I won't do anything on spec.
I understand. Where you grow up, you were the only Jewish family in your town.
In Frankfort, North Carolina, yeah. My mother and father had a dry goods store. That's what they called them in those days, and they sold sheets to the Ku Klux Klan.
They sold the sheets to the Ku Klux Klan?
Yeah.
So that they. So you're looking at Keith. Keith Leese is our chief engineer, and we're actually doing maintenance as we speak.
I love it. I love it.
Because we like to they do maintenance in prime time. Why do it in the off hours?
That's right.
I can't have any excuse. I didn't pay my after dues.
Oh, you can't talk? You didn't pay his after dues?
No.
Well, Keith used to be on the air, but who wasn't? And you can't because you didn't pay. You can do a one-shot. If you're on second time, then you have to start paying. You can write me notes. Okay. So, this is a very good part of the conversation, Keith. We're talking to Soupy about how his family had a store and they sold sheets of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something better than that. It was like they were very well loved down there. Of course, I had talked with Harry Golden about that years later, and Harry Golden was the editor of the Israelite newspaper. He was we used to be on Jack Parr's show, and he was a good writer. Harry Golden was really like a philosophical type man, and very learned, very astute man. And I had lunch with him one time, and I asked him about that. And they loved my mother and father. They asked my father to join the Klan.
Knowing he was Jewish?
Yes. And they called him and they wanted to see him at Jenkins' barn, and my mother was getting packed because she thought they were going to ask us to leave town. And he went there, and he knew everybody. They only had 1,500 people, and they wanted him to join. And he said, "I can't do that. You're against everything, that I'm for." And I asked Harry Golden about it, and he said, in the 20s and 30s, different areas of the South had, they would have a black family, another group would have an Italian family, another area would have a German or a Jewish family, and that was hands off of those people. Those people were loved by everybody, and nobody could come in and mess with those people, and that's how my mother and father, because they gave credit to people.
Did they get any
nice.
flack for selling sheets to the KKK? Did anybody object?
Well, it's like a guy goes in and says, "Give me 2 dozen or 3 dozen." You sell it. What are you going to say? These people. You see them every day. They're like relatives. You get in a small town. Everybody knows everybody.
So what was the purpose of the organization? Did they create hell in the town? Did they?
Yes. When I was 5 years old, I saw them hang a black man in the square. And I have nightmares about that to this day.
Really?
Yes, because he smoked smoked a cigarette in the theater, and he got in a fight with the manager, and they got in a fight, and they both fell from the balcony, and it killed the manager. And that night they broke into jail, and they hung him.
Was anybody prosecuted?
Yeah, you tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
No.
They didn't. Nobody was prosecuted down there in those days for anything like that. You know, people talk about, when I went on tour with my movie, and don't get me wrong, because I was born in North Carolina, and they're nice people down there, but I'm talking about in the 30s. I'm talking about in the 30s. It was like down south was really wild.
That's an amazing story.
Sure it is.
And you still today have recurring dreams? It's still in your consciousness?
Yes.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get back to our telephone calls for Soupy Sales. And he will be at the bottom line a week from tomorrow night. 570 WMCA. And Matt,
Hi, Alan.
How are you?
Hi, I'd like to ask Soupy why he named his son Hunt. And why did...
You know, we do a thing on the show called Radio Graffiti. We don't sometimes screen the calls, let people get up and do whatever they want. And there are people who, you've heard that last hour with Sonny Block, and a lot of crazy people who call. And it's unfortunate that people would call and say stupid things, but all you do is show your own stupidity. And if you want to call a radio station and make a horse's ass out of yourself, I guess it's a free country and you're permitted to do so. Dave, you're on WMCA. Hello.
First, the name of the general on Hogan's Heroes was Leon Askin.
Ashkin?
Askin, A-S-K-I-N.
Hey, thank you. I forgot. I couldn't remember his name. And I work with a really nice man, 82, and he's great.
Now, where can I get a copy of the record you had on NBC, I Like Chinese? And what's Frank Sinatra doing today?
Wait a minute. One question.
Where can you get I Like Chinese?
I Like Chinese. Let me see. Who did that record?
You sang it. I don't remember who wrote it.
No, it was, you know what? I can't remember.
Probably try one of the oldies stores in the village.
I would suggest that, yeah.
Frank Sinatra.
Now, Frank Sinatra is a wonderful actor, and he does Broadway and off-Broadway, and he was on the tour with The Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. I mean, he works all the time. He's very talented. The other guy asked how did Hunt get his name, my son.
Yeah,
I heard that.
Right.
Thank
you.
My ex-mother-in-law's name was, her family name was Hunt. So, he was named after that, you know. That's right.
And Rick, you're on WMCA. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Soupy.
Yes.
I was wondering whether you ever had any guests that were really upset when you hit them in the face with a pie and they weren't expecting.
Oh, no, I never hit anybody in the face with a pie that didn't know that they were going to hit.
Oh, they always
Yes,
knew.
oh, yes, never. I would never do that.
My brother wants to know if you ever had Don Knotts on your program.
No, but Don is from down my neck of the woods. He's from Charleston,
Today's
West
his
Virginia.
birthday, by the way.
Is that right? Yeah, that's right.
Steve, you're on WMCA. Hello.
Yeah, Soupy.
Yes.
Yes, Howard was right. You are no talent.
You know what I find fascinating? The kind of people that Howard attracts. I think it speaks for it. They speak for themselves. You're on. Hello. Bill.
Yeah, hi, Alan.
How you doing?
All right. I'm sorry that you're leaving because I'm going to miss you.
Thank you.
But, Soupy.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember I used to always see at Yankee Stadium, you know, about late 60s.
Yes, I
always used to sit on the visitor's side, right?
I would, you know, let's see.
Behind the visitor's dugout?
Yes,
I was always asking for your autograph.
Yes. It was really great because I got to see Ted Williams. I got to see everybody. And I knew Thurman Munson and all those guys. It was my friend Nat Tarnapo. We used to go out all the time. And I'm a big Yankee fan.
Yeah, me too. And I remember when I was a young kid, right about then, that time, my brother and I used to wait outside Yankee Stadium for autographs, in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And we always used to say, well, someday, I'd love to, be able to, hang out with the, ball players and stuff. And then I got a job with the AP and, Associated Press.
Yeah.
I remember when the Yankees won the pennant in 76.
Yeah.
And, my brother and I...
Oh, yeah. And Bobby Mercer. And those guys are great. Lou Piniella.
You're a Yankee fan, not a Met fan.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a big Met fan, but I was always a Yankee fan.
Thank you very much. Real New Yorkers are Yankee fans. That's the real New York, because the Yankees are New York's team. The Mets are Johnny's come lately. You know what I mean? Where were they in 79, 80? Nobody liked the Mets. These people are just like winners. They're fair weather fans, the Met fans. Anyway, Soupy, thank you very much for being
Alan,
here. I'm delighted to see you.
It's always nice to be with you. I think you're a very talented guy, and I wish you all the luck in the world. Anytime I can be of any assistance or need somebody for the show,
Got a few bucks?
Give me a call. Yes, I got that.
Thank you very much. Soupy at the Bottom Line, a week from Saturday the 29th, 8:30 and 11:30 shows. It's a great opportunity to see great talent. Thank you for being here again, and we'll come back after the news on 570 WMCA.